Good evening, folks, and welcome to your latest edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast, hosted by myself, Craig Rae. This is the independent Rangers podcast made for fans, by fans, and all of our content is absolutely free. You can get us over at gersnet.co.uk, where you've got access to the forum, some great articles, and a wonderful history archive as well. We are live on YouTube this evening, and we'll be on all of your usual podcast platforms in the coming hours as well. Please do like and share the video, and also subscribe to the channel if you can as well, please. Just before I introduce my guest for this evening, I also need to give a shout out to our partners over at Forrest Precision Engineering. They are a subcontract Glasgow-based engineering company, and they've been a big commercial supporter of Rangers for many years. We're absolutely delighted that they're backing our pod. You can get them over at forrestprecisioneng.com. And you can also visit the Forrest Precision Executive Lounge, a stunning new hospitality area within the historic main stand. For information on how to book this unique and intimate space, you can email the club via hospitality@rangers.co.uk. And here with me tonight to discuss last night's debacle, it's Mr. Stewart Weir. Stewart, how are you doing?
Yes, doing well. I almost said must I, but I drew the shortest straw of all. Some guys were pulling straws out that looked as if they were about to attempt a world record at the pole vault, but I came out with some like cocktail sticks. That's the reason you've got me tonight.
Aye, well, you've got the double trouble of not only having me as a host, but discussing that last night as well. So, anyway, did you have a nice breakfast this morning? I mean, I didn't have my normal Brann flakes. I just actually opted for a full English on a Friday for once. Who cares?
I mean, a bit a serial killer there. Aye, it was there was too many sort of not much a snap, crackle, or pop with most Rangers fans' breakfast this morning. If the pop was a pop gun going off, but it was no. I would say that was a chastening experience last night, and it was. You were hopeful that there might be a kind of new manager or new coach bounce, and there was absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there were senior players in that team who you look to lead the team and look to lead by example, and none of them did. It was cowardice. It was absolute cowardice, and the fact that they'll next week they'll get their 2 weeks' wages paid into the bank as per normal and think nothing of it. It's just scandalous. I mean, really, they're in there. Half of them are in there under false pretenses because they've been signed by somebody who basically been playing Rangers Monopoly and spending money here, there, and everywhere unwisely, you would have to say. And last night the manager cannot make too many changes. He can't, roll a 6-6 and suddenly create something that wasn't there. But even he must have wondered, what the hell am I doing here? The second goal that goes in, he's studying the video almost immediately, and there was a kind of head shake. And I'm not the best at lip reading, especially when it comes to people speaking fluent German. But you just knew that what he was saying was like, I can't believe we've lost that goal. I cannot believe that we're in this situation. And it was just, people like to accentuate the positives. The only positive I would say from last night came at the airport when people challenged Stewart and Thelwell, and maybe somebody somewhere would take note of that and say, actually, this is beyond the manager not doing it or the players not doing it. This is actually people who are at a certain level in terms of the management of the club who haven't done it, and the fans have seen right through them.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've talked about Russell Martin till the cows come home, right? And he'll go down as the worst manager in Rangers history. Well, so far, because we keep saying it can't get any worse, and we somehow managed to conjure up even worse things than that. So maybe it's a bit too early to say that. But
if my daughter was here, she would do a Mick McCarthy impersonation and go, "Oh, it can,
it can."
It can.
But last night for me, in terms of who that's on, a mix of the players, because the players aren't good enough, but also who are the people that are siding the players, who are the guys that are siding the players, Mr. Felwell and co. The senior players, Stuart, we discussed it off air. They were an absolute disgrace. Nico Raskin, for me, was the one that really got to me, because, I mean, look, Tavernier, all right, he's done it plenty of times, so you're actually at a point now where you're expecting it off guys like him. Butland, again, not great. Rothwell, we know he's crap. But Raskin, it was just like the way that we have sort of put our noses out for him and stuck up for him, especially with the whole sort of thing in the summer between him and Russell Martin. To me, last night, it looks like a guy that's just completely checked out. He's wanting to move away. He's new in the Belgium squad. And it's just like, we could have get beat last night, right? But it was a lack of effort that really done it for me. Raskin especially, that was the one that just got to me, because he is on paper your best player. He is the one that everyone's saying build the team around, and that's the performance he gave last night. I think that showed how much he cares about the club with that performance last night.
I don't get it, Craig, that you have players there that are playing for a club or a jersey or a badge or playing for their wages, who basically just look as if they don't care. Even personal pride doesn't come into it. As a footballer, as a plumber, an electrician, a brain surgeon, you're looking to do the best job possible, regardless of the circumstances. And there's sometimes, if you're a footballer or any kind of sportsman, sometimes the roof just caves in and there's nothing you can do about it. But last night, until Brann scored, Rangers were in the game at 0-0. They weren't doing hellish much. You're a striker who, honestly, you could not follow the radar, what he was trying to do, where he was trying to run, where he was trying to go. Nobody could find him anyway.
So he looks like a guy that's won a competition to be in that team. And the team's rubbish as well.
Years ago, some of the viewers or listeners might remember there was a programme where people get a chance to fulfil their dreams. I don't think it was a big time Western Ransom, it was something like that. And there was a guy, a Liverpool fan, got to play for Liverpool in Tommy Smith's testimonial. And Tommy Smith nearly halved him in two in the first tackle to see what this guy was made of. And they just knew he wasn't a player. He ran about, he tried hard. And that is about it. I know, having played football at certain levels, if there is somebody who has been an ex-professional or who has played to a certain standard or in a certain division, you can pick them out a mile away, an absolute mile away. You're right what you're saying. There is nothing there that makes him look as if he's actually a player. I mean, I'd check to make sure he's not George Weir's nephew or something like that, and somebody's falling for that old trick again. He just doesn't look as if he can play the game. Now, if that's the guy that's leading your line, then you've got issues. A bigger issue, we'll probably touch on it, a bigger issue is, and I said it today on Twitter, what pack of top trumps was Kevin Thelwell playing with during the summer when he thought spending 9 million quid on that guy as opposed to getting Shankland for washers? I wouldn't say that Shankland is the be-all and end-all or the answer to everything. But first and foremost, Rangers have to build domestically and get players that can win on the home front before they do anything else. European football is a pipe dream just now. Okay, Rangers have done exceptionally well, but where has it got them? Second in the league, second in every other tournament domestically, and the last guy to get them to a final gets sacked because nobody liked the style he was playing, and even though he won a trophy, well, that was a good move. Now, you are looking to bolster this team right now, and it's going to be very interesting where Rohl goes in this one. and whether he listens or takes any advice whatsoever from Thelwell. When Walter Smith came back as Rangers manager, the first thing he identified was the defence. We need to sort out the defence. So he picked somebody he knew he could work with and had worked with him in the past, and that was David Weir. And then a bit later, Ugo Egill came in, and he strengthened the defence. If you don't concede goals, you're in with half a chance. There is not a hope in hell's chance of that Rangers team not conceding goals. So I would say that Rohl, in given different clubs he's been at, given his knowledge of German football as well, I would say he might earmark one or two players. They don't need to be 21, because you're not building for the future. The future is actually here and now. You actually need your future's next week. So you need people that will actually do the job for you. And I would like to think he knows players that could do that job short term from maybe immediately, but certainly from January onwards. And he must know that he needs to stiffen that team up, strengthen that team, make them a bit more physical and tougher, not only physically, but tougher mentally as well, so that the heads don't go down when you concede the first goal. I mean, this guy has got a monumental job ahead of him. And it's all the doings of what happened during the summer. Thelwell came out during the week here and said, I've never signed a player unless the manager wants him. I mean, what was Russell Martin on that he actually had a say in the players that did arrive? I mean, it was second picking a lucky bag for some of those players. And they can't believe they've ended up at Rangers on 25 grand a week or whatever it is. I mean, they're laughing all the way to the bank and probably all the way to the end of their contract. But the situation at Rangers it needs rectifying really, really quickly. And there's a whole bunch of fans out there, who travelled either yesterday or watching Rangers, who all will point the finger at the two men, and that's Stewart and Thelwell, because Rangers are in this situation because of the decisions they made during the summer, not just with the Martin situation, but also with the players that have been signed. And these guys are utter crap. And I would never use that word normally, but they are absolutely shocking. They're abysmal. Offer half that team round any other Premier League team just now in Scotland, and they wouldn't take them. Because there's other teams have spent nothing and got better.
Mm-hmm. It's a joke. And I mean, look, I was guilty of actually thinking that Russell Martin was the main problem, and I was kind of under the impression that I thought we actually signed decent players. I mean, that theory was just blown out the water last night. There's nothing there in a lot of them. I mean, even someone like Ant-Man, I've never seen him. He's a winger and he doesn't take anybody on. He just tries to run into space that you don't get. The defence, as you mentioned, absolutely shocking. About 75% of it is all loans. And I mean, we're in a situation, Stuart, where we've brought in, 5 or 6 players on loan. See, to be quite honest, they all should be sent back. Yeah. And that's not an exaggeration. Well, maybe Cornelius, there might be something there in him, but apart from him, the rest 100% need to go. Guy like Mikey Moore coming on last night, he's done nothing. Absolutely nothing in the Rangers jersey. And I know we spoke about the youth players earlier, but you've got a guy there in Finlay Curtis, who's one of your own players. He's actually shown this season that he's done more than Mikey Moore. All right, Mikey Moore might be a world-class player in 5 or 6 years. I don't care what he does in 5 or 6 years for Spurs. I care about what he does here and now for Rangers, and he's not got it here and now to be a Rangers player. So why are you picking guys like that over your own players who are proven at this moment in time that they're better? It just doesn't make sense.
I'm half expecting a minibus. Remember that minibus that came up from Newcastle with 5 players and dumped them at the door and then pissed off again saying, here, pay them and they'll play for you. I'm half expecting another minibus to arrive very shortly because of the desperate situation that Rangers find themselves in. You have to fulfil basics before you understand anything tactically. I'll start with Tavernier. How can you mark somebody when they're 10 yards behind you? I mean, that is elementary stuff. That is basic stuff. And then turn around and the sort of utter shock horror oh no, they've got a player there that I didn't know was there. I mean, the guy must be switch. He has to switch on. He has to know. The rest of the defence are, I don't know who they're taking their line from, or who's telling them to push up or stay back or whatever. There is no communication. The second goal, the set piece, I mean, that is just a comedy of errors. I mean, I've been very lucky to sit with managers who would explain their defensive setup. Walter Smith did it once when we were in Italy and explained. So, yeah, what do you use? Do you use zonal or do you use man for man or what? And it's a combination of different things. You use zonal for like 3 or 4 key positions along your 6-yard line or wherever you're setting your line. But then you've got guys, 2 or 3 guys whose sole job is to get their head in the ball first. And there is not even that desperation amongst anybody. They're all just waiting it coming in. And it's like, after you, Claude, you'll deal with it. You know, go back to Walter Smith. You get Ekiog in and you get Davy Weir in. Davy Weir's played a yard behind Ekiog, and he was the guy that cleared it. You know, no problem in dropping the guys that were there. The job, they needed better players in, and Walter Smith saw that as being better players. Dick Advocat comes in. He sees that Rangers needed better players as well. Alex McLeish. No, Rangers, I remember people chuckling and chortling when Rangers signed Marvin Andrews. But it was back to basics. He didn't try and play football, and he could head the ball further than you could go on holiday. And that was all that they needed. Let other players play with the ball. You just clear your lines. And there is nobody at Rangers right this minute taking any responsibility for that. Now, you don't have to be a football expert or a sat with Rangers manager or Scotland manager or Manchester United manager and then things that explain to you. People can see that with their own eyes, having just watched football. And that's the trap that Russell Martin fell into. He just took him, I've got an IQ of 273 and the rest of you don't know what you're talking about. Wrong. You're talking about Rangers fans there who've probably seen, anywhere between, 100 and 2,000 games, depending on what age they are. And they've seen all the centre halves. They've seen all the defenders. They know who's a player, who could they play. And right at this minute, and I've spoken to and had messages from several guys that go back into the early 60s, if not before, and every one of them saying the same thing. They cannot remember a Rangers team so shambolic defensively as this one. So who takes responsibility?
No one's taking responsibility, and that's the problem. No one's taking responsibility on the park, and no one's taking responsibility off the park. You've seen the executives do their interviews through the week. Oh yeah, we've made mistakes. We'll hold our hands up. That's not taking responsibility. To be honest, taking responsibility would be resigning. That's what taking responsibility would be. But they're not going to do that. They're going to wait until they get sacked because they know they're going to get a massive payoff at the end of it. So they're not going to be walking away. And look, I seen something quite interesting on Twitter earlier where it kind of sums Rangers fans up, right? Because admittedly, we've got a few nutcases in the support, right? But we're no stupid. Rangers fans aren't stupid. They've seen it all. They've heard it all the crap through the years. I think especially what happened in 2012, it really woke a lot of people up. And, Rangers fans now, I think, we're on the ball with a lot of things in terms of we know if a manager's a good manager, we know if a player's a good player. And Everton fans said on Twitter earlier, it's taken the Rangers fans 3 months to find out about Kevin Felwell, what it took Everton fans 2 or 3 years to find out. And he's saying he's been found out straight away. In the Premier League, when you're at a club like Everton, all right, Everton are a big club, but the spotlight, the pressure is not the same as at Rangers. So there are a lot, and you see it with a lot of your sort of middle table Premier League teams where you've got players that you're kind of going, they just show up every day and they kind of just get by, if you know what I mean. Whereas if you do that up here and you try and coast it, you get found out straight away. And that's what has happened with a lot of these players and the executives as well.
You play at any part of Rangers or Celtic, I'll say that as well. and it's not a spotlight that's shone on you, it's a laser beam. And unless you get out of the road that very, very quickly, you're just fried alive. That's you, you're finished. And that's what's happening currently with Rangers. Every player is under scrutiny, and every Rangers fan knows the ones that are either not trying or just don't have it. You know, so the Rangers have spent, as I said last night, Rangers were in the last day in the Europa League last 6 months ago, not even last year, 6 months ago, they were in the last day. Now they're at the bottom of the league table and have spent 30 million quid to get there. Just try and comprehend that. You've spent 30 million quid, which was supposedly to make the team better, and you've ended up with that performance last night. Somebody has to be culpable. It's not a case of saying, hands up, we made a mistake. You have to be culpable for what you've done and made and held responsible. And the thing is, people say, oh, well, he's kind of stuck now with what he does and all the rest of it. Listen, if there's anybody at Sheffield Wednesday able to run or play, they would probably be better just now, and they're probably getting for nothing, given what's happening down there. You know, you Barry Bannon playing for Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, there's a guy who wasn't getting paid, hadn't been paid for 4 months. And even when it did come his turn to get paid, he said, no, pay the cleaners and the gatemen and all the rest of it. I mean, what kind of attitude would anybody at Rangers do that? No chance. And the guy's, 35, and he's still playing every game as if it was his first or his last. You know, and it's shocking to see that. And Rohl walked out in that. He walked away from that and turned up at Rangers, whereas the situation's even worse. And these guys are getting paid 15, 20, 25 grand a week.
Mm-hmm. No, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Some of the signings, I mean, Chermiti, and he's going to cop it because, you know, he's a big money signing. See, what I don't understand about that mostly, it's when Felwell talks about data on, you know, it's a data-driven signing. I mean, the guy was playing for Everton and Sporting Lisbon. Now, I thought the whole point of using data analytics in football was to pick up undervalued assets in sort of different leagues that nobody really knows about, right? You don't need a supercomputer to tell you about how good a guy is for Sporting Lisbon or Everton. You've got eyes. You can go and physically watch him. You can get your scouts to watch him on the telly or go and visit the games. And then it's about buying low and selling high, right? So, all right, we done it with Gefty and Egeman last year, bought them for a low amount, sell them on for a good profit, right? But with a guy like Chermiti, if you've spent 9 million quid on him, you need to be honest with yourself and saying, what is the potential upside of that going to be? Because I think the record sale in Scotland's 25 million, and that wasn't the Rangers that got it. So Rangers' ceiling for selling a player is probably about 20 million quid, right? And that is only if he is like the best player that we have had in about 10 years and he's scoring 30 odd goals a season. That is the only way that you get some sort of transfer upside for him. So if you're going to sign a player for 8-9 million quid, that guy needs to come in and be immediately the best player in the team. And he actually looks like the worst player, to be quite honest. Some of the signs are ridiculous. I mean, Asgard last night as well. You know, you would think him going back to Norway would give him a bit of motivation. You know, to go that I thought he was awful last night. And then
who made that statement? Who made that statement, Craig? Who made a statement to the new manager coming in and saying, I want this jersey. You pick me and pick me between now and whenever somebody takes the jersey off me? Absolutely nobody. And that, you know, I have never seen such apathy. And I've seen Rangers getting rid of umpteen managers. I've seen them getting rid of umpteen players as well. And in all seriousness, you could honestly basically have a bring and buy sale at Ibrox just now. Just bring in your Skeletrics and we'll give you a centre half that we don't need. It's incredible, the level. And listen, I say that about Rangers. Scottish football, I had an argument the other day there with a Celtic supporter telling me how good Celtic were. And then I mentioned, you know, so you're telling me that you would prefer to watch this current Celtic team compared to watching Viduka or Sutton or Hartson or Larsson. That's not the point. No, that is the point. you're watching a substandard sort of project as well, and produce as well. It's not the same as what it was, but there has to be a level of pride in what you're actually trying to do, and I do not see any of that at Rangers currently.
Mm-hmm. Well, your general point about Scottish football as well. I mean, Aberdeen cuffed 6-0 last night against a bang average Athens team.
They
I know
lost
Celtic.
6-0. They lost 6-0 to two vowels and a consonant.
Do you know what? Maybe we could
Then
get
again,
Daryl Vorderman in.
actually, I remember Rangers losing 3-0 in aggregate to AEK. So let's not go there. Maybe just that would just maybe poke the fire too much tonight.
Even Celtic last night, all right, they came back and won. I mean, they should have been 2-0 down at half time. So you were very close to a situation where all three Scottish teams got absolutely cuffed. And the thing that really gets me about this European campaign is that, all right, we've been crap domestically the last couple of years. Europe has been the one thing that has distracted us, and it's been a welcome distraction. The whole Rangers Thursday thing and all that. I mean, it's dead in the water now, right? We've faced three bang average teams in the Europa League, three teams that even last season I would have expected us to win every single game. I'm pretty sure Brann are the lowest ranked side in the competition, and we're now at a stage where we're out. You need to get 10 points minimum to go through. We've got 5 games left. You've got Porto and Roma coming up. They'll have a field day with us. So then you're in a situation where you basically need to win the other 3 games. That gives you 9 points. And I mean, that probably won't be enough. So
you're right what you're saying there. You're right what you're saying there in terms of the Thursday. It was a welcome distraction. Were Rangers ever going to win any of the tournaments? Now I know they got to a final, but since then it's been a distraction, a welcome distraction. They've done well. They've helped Scotland's coefficient. They've helped themselves as well. They've had people talk about how well Rangers are doing in Europe. What you've got now is people saying, "Is the darts on a Thursday night yet?" And that's where Rangers are at. It's going to be very, very interesting to see if Rohl's his own man and says this is what's needing done, and I'm not going to play with these guys. I don't need these guys. Do whatever it is, or he's still going to take what Rangers are giving to him. If he keeps taking the players that Kevin Thelwell believes are players, this could be the most catastrophic season in the history of Rangers. And I'll say that, forget 2012. That was more what was happening off the pitch than on the pitch. On the field of play, this could be an absolute calamitous year.
It could be, and I mean, I know you would have witnessed a lot of the stuff in the 80s, but I mean, this is in the top flight so far where things should be back to normal. This is the worst I've ever experienced it in the top flight, and that's even going back with guys like Kashina and Warburton and Murray and all the rest of it. And the worst part is, as you say, we've spent 30 million quid to just get in the top 6 of the league. And again, you look over at Celtic, they lost. I mean, last night they've lost their best centre half, their best striker, and their best right back, along with other players that they've got injured. The stars were aligning this summer for Rangers. You could see what's happening over there. The stars were aligning this summer with the takeover, all the positivity in the summer for us to go and say, right, this is going to be the season where we reclaim the league. We're going to go back to where we belong, and we have completely and utterly blown it bigger than you could even imagine. Like, second place is bad enough here at Ibrox. 6, 1 league win, and we're nearly in November.
Yeah, listen, how bad it is, as I say, it's lies, damn lies, and statistics, and somewhere in amongst all of those just now, there's the truth. We haven't seen it yet, but how you can accrue 30 million quid worth of signings and end up with that team is beyond me. And the other thing I'll say is, even if even if Rangers spent another 30 million quid, you're basically going to have to buy a new team. Even going way back 40 years ago when Graham Souness came in, Graham Souness bought like a new spine to the team. He brought in guys, Woods, Jimmy Nicholl, Butcher, Roberts, got another striker in Colin West. But he still had players there at Rangers, like Davy Cooper and Ali McCoys, that he could actually build something around. Dave McPherson. Do you see anybody picking out any of those Rangers players currently and saying, let's make you the starting point. Let's build round about you. And I see some of the comments there, it'll cost you 25 million quid for players of that ilk now.
No, it doesn't. Look at Celtic the last couple of years, right? Celtic's best players that they've signed have been for less than 3 million quid. Look at the guys that Postecoglou brought in. So nonsense to say that that's 25 million.
Correct. And you mentioned there the analytics. Go to Sweden just now. You've got Mjällby, who are going to be in the Champions League. A place with a population of 1,400 people actually won the Swedish title. So rather than spending 30 million, go and get a guy that's doing the analytics for them and signing the players, and who's obviously not going to last very long at Mjällby because he'll be at Juventus or someplace like that very shortly. But it can be done. You can stitch together successful teams depending on the signings that you make. And Rangers has been failure after failure in terms of recruitment.
Yeah, I think that Braga that plays for Hearts, I'm fairly sure they got him for like the Norwegian or the Swedish second division.
Maybe he was 24 million. I think he was 24 million.
Aye. But it's just ridiculous. And I mean, it's, the fans, I mean, I know a couple of folk that were there last night for their sins. And I mean, look, I said on Twitter last night, you've got 3 games coming up at Ibrox in the Europa League that are now essentially meaningless games. And it'll cost you, I think it was 132 quid for the 3 games. Why would you bother? Why would your normal punters bother? Now, obviously, the Rangers fans are loyal and whatnot, right? But with the way that the club's got managers structured, they're no stupid, where you're in effect being blackmailed to go, because you get told if you don't go to these games, if you don't sign up to the continuous credit card scheme, you're not going to get your tickets for Hampden, you're not going to get away tickets and whatnot, right? So
and we'll charge you 50 quid. We'll charge you 50 quid for the privilege. What? You're going to charge me 50 quid to sit in the house and watch that crap? Nah, I don't think so. And that's how people will vote. People will basically decide, no, you're not making any improvements. Come back when you've actually won something.
Aye, I mean, I think the crowd at the Gent game was like 35,000 or something like that. 35,000 for a European Rangers match, like, since we have came back up, is just, it's unheard of, even in qualifiers. Do you know what I mean? Playing, minnows for Macedonia and whatnot, you would get near enough full houses at these games. 35,000. I mean, you might get a bit of a crowd at the Roma game because, they're a higher level team, but then, see, to be honest as well, people will probably say, well, they're going to cuff us 3 or 4 now. So why would I even pay for that? And then is it Ludogorets for playing the other home game? I mean, be lucky if you get 30,000 at that. And also, again, I've noticed with the sales, the uptake for the semi-final next Sunday at Hampden, I'm pretty sure the tickets are sold out now, but that basically went down to the last priority group in terms of who could buy tickets, which shows you that even, like the biggest game of the season so far next Sunday, even fans are interested in going to that as well. It's unprecedented. And I mean, you've got the owners coming in the summer. I think, and I had a theory that, we were building a team for Europe, because that is essentially where the riches are now. You get into the Champions League year in, year out, that's where these guys will make money. But I mean, that's also been thrown at the water as well, because we've been absolutely dire in these first 3 games. But maybe this is what it will take. Maybe it will be us getting knocked out of the Europa League at the first glance, them not making enough money through ticket sales, prize money. Maybe this is what it will take for them to say, no, we have made some incredibly horrible decisions and we need to rectify them properly.
But there's no sign of that. There's no sign of that. There's no sign of that when you still get those on high community saying, yeah, we're right behind these guys. As I say, maybe the best thing that anyone could have witnessed last night was what happened at the airport. And I don't like seeing it. I don't like seeing that sort of level of confrontation anywhere. But the fact of the matter is that people are really hurt, and the guy screaming, "This is this is your toy. This is your livelihood." He's absolutely right, and I think that's at a level of passion is completely lost on those that have suddenly landed themselves in a position where it's oh, look at me, I've got a blazer, I've got a tie. That means absolutely damn all. I've got a blazer and I've got a tie. You see some of the imposters that have worn the blazers and ties over the years, you would know that. So just because you get the chauffeur driving car to the stadium or wherever you're going every time you fly in and all the rest of it, you're not kidding anybody. Actions will speak louder than words, and the real actions have to be that there are certain people in certain positions who are not up to the task. They've proved it, and you should only get one chance at that.
Well, that's it. And, I did want to speak about last night because, I mean, all right, maybe we don't want to see it, but at the end of the day, Stuart, this is what's going to happen. See, when you are doing as bad a job as you are doing and you're in that spotlight at Ibrox, stuff like this is inevitable. Now, we can all talk about whether it should happen or whatever. Whether it should or shouldn't happen is irrelevant, because the reality is stuff like this will happen, because you're always going to get people that do that. But I mean, as I say, I don't really know what else they're expecting. Like,
there was a joke. Sorry, there was a joke years ago about when Rangers were bringing out like cup final DVDs or videos and all sorts of things, and Celtic were going to bring out their 100 greatest throw-ins, right? Rangers couldn't bring out that because I've not had 100 decent throw-ins. I mean, seriously, that's where they're at. It is so criminal where Rangers are at just now. And, they're wanting people to buy, third kits, fourth kits. Are you honestly believing that anybody's going to spend good money in doing that because you say...
Well, I mean, I do like the fourth kit. I've got to say I like it. But do you know what, Stuart? It'll be like £85 or something. That is essentially the price of 2 Europa League matchday tickets, and let me tell you, you'll get a lot more fun out of buying that orange strip than you would buying the 2 tickets for the next Europa League game.
What you wear to bed is entirely between you and the bedclothes. But listen, the thing is, you're basically fleecing the fans. You're saying you're a cash cow, and we're going to fleece you for as much money as we can. If you're not doing too well on the pitch, we'll just bring something else out that will attract your attention. How many different types of whiskey have Rangers got just now? Who's their sponsors or their partners in this, that, the next thing? I mean, they're just trying to get money, claw money in everywhere. And the reason American owners come in, and nobody will convince me anything otherwise, they targeted European football. And I don't mean the current setup. They saw that Rangers would be a way into a European league or a whatever division it might be in Europe, and build from there. Because Rangers, in terms of their Scottish identity, would be in that particular competition, would they? No. Where they're at just now, you might get it in past reputations. You would not get it in performance level just now.
Aye, I know. I forgot how many bottles of that Rangers whiskey I bought, and I've been too busy tanning it the last few months, so it's not even a memento anymore.
I think after last night you probably had it intravenously fed.
Oh no, but it is, and I mean timing as well. I mean, why are you releasing a strip like a few hours after one of your worst European performances ever? It's honestly,
they have absolutely, they've got no perception of how they're perceived. They just, the whole thing about reading the room, they can't read the room because all the lights are turned out. They're stumbling around in the dark just now. And the point you made there, Craig, is exceptionally good. Bringing out a kit hours after you've been humiliated in European football by a team who are now going to go their holidays because their season's finished, that tells you everything as to where Rangers are.
No, it's an absolute disgrace. I actually wanted to talk about the new manager because, I mean, it's actually, you forget that we've appointed a new manager in the last couple of days with everything that's went on. But what was your overall thoughts on that, Stuart, in terms of him on an individual level, but also the process? Because I don't know if you've been on and had the chance to discuss how you felt the whole process has been. So
there was a process. Talk me through this one, Craig. I must have missed it. I said last night on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. It was actually nice to see a Rangers manager speaking to somebody in TV. Not that had the volume turned up, so I don't know what he said, but he was actually answering questions with a smile on his face, rather than talking down to people as if you were some sort of superior, football god like the last guy. So to that end, that was quite nice to see. How long that now lasts that he's actually seen the team perform, I'm not quite sure. But I wish the guy well. I've wished every Rangers manager, I wish anybody take on a job, I'd wish them well. I think you'll find out, all these claims on his CV, or he did this with Germany, he did this in Germany, he was at Southampton and all the rest of it. I think this will be the real test. The real test is not going to be anything to do with his football tactics, or whether he plays with one striker or two strikers up front, is whether the guy has a pair of balls to actually say, I'm the manager and this is the way we're doing it. And I fear, and I do fear, and given the fact he knows he wasn't the first taxi off the rank, and there were a couple of guys ahead of him who just basically switched their lights off and drove away, he knows he wasn't the first choice. But as he said, he's the first choice right now because he's the only one that took the job. So it's what he makes of it. And again, I hope he's his own man rather than being swayed or steered in particular directions by a couple of guys further up the tree who think they know what they're doing because of where they were previously, and it's evident they don't have a clue.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was refreshing to see last night him actually going up to the fans after the game and, trying to speak to them and sort of explain the result and the performance. Now, and that's all he speaks well. I do genuinely think he does. And, German coaches, German managers, they're no stupid. They've got a pretty good knowledge of football in the main. But I mean, look, I don't think he was anybody's first choice at the club or any fans of that. He wasn't my first choice, but I mean, he's here now. And again, as much as he is inexperienced, you can't get some of the jobs that he's had in football at Leipzig, at Bayern, at the German national team if you don't have something about you.
And so, I think he said something about him as well last night, Craig, with the fact that, I mean, I hate to mention his name, but if I'd been Russell Martin would have been like Usain Bolt at the starting block, right up the tunnel, no any interviews, no speaking to anybody, get me on the plane, we're going home.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy is just in the job, and he actually walks across the pitch. Now, he doesn't know what he's going to be confronted with.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know whether he's going to have fans shouting, get to blazes or whatever it is. He does not know. There's a beat. But he went across there in good faith. If there's a good time to do it, it's probably after your first game when you have lost, because you actually show a bit of compassion and a bit of passion for the situation. And obviously, you want to apologise to the fans. So well done him. But I don't think it's going to be a great career move if they can't get the team playing the way he's playing and having to apologise week in, week out. You've done it at once. You inherited somebody's team. You've been asked to do, you've been asked to tap dance in a minefield just now wearing stiletto heels.
Or he's been asked to drive a Ferrari with a Honda Civic.
Listen, most people couldn't drive a Ferrari anyway. But the fact of the matter is that he he's obviously aware of how disappointed those fans will be. And he can't do it to Ibrox. He can't go around and introduce himself to 50,000 disappointed fans. That doesn't work. But he knows that's the guys in Norway are hardcore supporters. I mean, to be honest, going to Norway isn't the greatest place in the world. Sorry, any Norwegian listeners or viewers. It costs you a fortune once you're there as well. And so he knows these guys have made the effort. And he made the effort last night to go across and approach them and either say sorry or it will get better or whatever it is, whatever promise he makes. It doesn't matter. The fact he showed face and showed up in difficult circumstances. But he's done that once. That is it. He can't come out and start making excuse after excuse after excuse. And I'm fearful that he might end up doing that because last night he got absolutely shit all help from anybody on that pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely nothing. When I used to do the man-by-man Martins, your starting point was Sasa Papic, 7 out of 10, because he gave you 7 out of 10 every week, apart from maybe score a goal, maybe get an 8, or made a great defensive clearance. But that was your 7 out of 10 man. I don't know any Rangers player that would have started yesterday or you would have started and would have get any more than about 4. Thanks for turning up. Thanks for not losing your passport getting on the plane. That's about as much as they did.
I mean, that wouldn't be a bad idea if a few of them lost their passports. They can't get back into the country.
Well, listen, let's not go. Let's not go there. But I mean, I was reminded actually last night, years ago, when Only an Excuse was a radio show, and there was a line delivered by Chico Young, or actually Johnny Watson, that said, "Why do we persist signing these foreign diddies when we've got enough homemade diddies in this country that we could have?" Well, there might be something with that. But there's guys turning up who are absolute imposters. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know who Rangers have been watching. I don't think they are looking at players that are ready made to make a team. I think people have been distracted and think, well, we invest in this guy, we can get a transfer fee out of him 2 years down the road. That doesn't work. You have got to be working in the here and now, and you've got to be building a team that's going to, first and foremost, survive, but might land a few blows to others along the way, and you might get into a cup final. Who knows? Or maybe in 2 cup finals, because you're not going to win the league. Mm. And that is the approach. I remember going to Ibrox, I got a phone call a Friday afternoon. Laura at Rangers, I've got Walter on the phone for you. Oh, hello. What have I done now? Sort of type thing. And I knew what I'd done. I'd written a story about Rangers looking at Florian Radicau, Romanian striker who eventually went to West Ham. And I'm like, oh no, what have I done? Just come on down and I'll show you something. I'm like, oh no, this could be a right hook, I get into Ibrox and there was Archie. Then Archie's like, do you want a cup of tea? And I'm like, no. And I'm thinking to myself, they're just enticing me in here and there's got to be 2 of them waiting on me, right? And Walter pointed to a box. At that time it was videos. He went, how many videos do you think are in that box? And I said, I don't know. 80, 100. He went, right. He said 80 or 100. He said, now, how many players did I sign last summer? And I'm like, 2. He went, right. So he said, you went to a good school. He said, what's the percentage of that? I said, if there's 100 videos in there and you've watched 100 players, you've signed 2, that's 2%. He went, absolutely right. He said, I'm not saying you're wrong in who we're looking at. He said, but we look at dozens of players. And that was the level. Before there was anything like all this telemetry and all the rest of it, you could, or packages you could tune into in terms of it would show you players' stats and all the rest of it. They basically watch players and then they would dispatch you and Chester away to go and look at them more, and then Archie might go, and then Walter might go, or whatever it was. But there was a sequence of how they went and selected players. I do not believe that Rangers have conducted any in-depth study on the players they've got. They've gone, well, he might do as a job, go and sign him. And that's why you've ended up with certain players at Ibrox just now. Why? Because nobody else were interested in them.
I mean, look, Felwell will say that, you know, there's a thorough process that goes behind, you know, signing players, especially with the whole data analytics thing, right? But, I mean, let's be quite honest. The whole point about data is that it's supposed to be quick and efficient. You know, you just type a guy's name into a database, boom, you've got all the stats there. And if he meets a certain threshold, I will go and sign him. You know, what conversations are these players having with club legends, with club ambassadors, with just normal guys in and around the club to show that they are a proper fit for Rangers? Because you can name all the stats in the world or whatever. Doesn't mean you're going to cut it at Rangers. And I think that's the issue. It almost seems as if we're being ran as some sort of like English Championship experiment. And I think it was Ross that made the point last week where, you know, the level of the Scottish League is what League One, League Two, England generally speaking. And he thinks that we've got guys there that have essentially just went, right, if we sign Championship level players, they are better than League One and League Two players, so they should just automatically be better. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that in most walks of life of football. It especially does not work at Rangers.
Let me give you Exhibit A. Wrexham. Go and look at the league table and find out where they are just now. Absolute cakewalk in the fourth tier. Easily done third tier. Suddenly they're up into the Championship. It's not as easy. You know, players are found out very, very quickly, either in skill levels, either in fitness levels, you know, ability levels, whatever it might be. And for you to then go out and specifically sign those kind of players. I mean, I know Rangers can't afford to go and spend the millions that they once did, but for God's sake, spend their money wisely. Don't go all in. You know, don't go all in on a striker and a centre back who you've never seen, and a striker who, unless they legalise, you know, human organ sales again, isn't going to be worth anything. Do you think, is there anybody out there that would take him in January on loan to go and learn how to play football? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, if Kevin Felwell leaves and he gets a new club in January, he'll probably take him. But that's it.
He needs to get his son out first. Always remember, people, the clocks go back. That's just another hour for son off to actually put an extra bit into his shift, because he's working, that'll be 26 hours on Sunday. We have what utter crap.
I know. There's that much crap. We could literally be here all night discussing it, but no. I was going to say it was a good point to end on, Stuart, but I mean, let's be honest, there's nothing.
A good point to end on would be a bayonet.
Thanks very much to the viewers at home. It'll be Rob, Alan, and Neil on Sunday night. As I say, we're live on YouTube this evening.
Give me a minute. Hold on. There's what it says.
There's a guy wanting to know.
Make it monkey.
Lovely. Oh well. There's the ceremonial showing of the t-shirts. Stuart, thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks for my word from my sponsor there as well.
No worries. Thanks to the viewers at home. We'll speak to you soon, guys. Bye bye.